Okay, we'll go ahead and get started here. We've got Coach Wilcox here for our 2023 spring football media availability. We'll get started with the first question from Ryan Young from Rivals.
Hey, Justin. Jake and the offensive staff have had a few months now to kind of put some ideas together and kind of plan things out. What can you tell us at this point about the offense and how it's going to look and what you want to do on that side of the ball?
Yeah, it'll be significantly different than what we've done in the past. Jake's a really good coach. As is Coach Blesh and Tim Plow, there's some really good football minds in there, but systematically you can see why those guys have been so successful. There's still a lot to be determined based on our roster and learning our strengths, but been real enjoyable sitting in there with those guys and going through kind of the details of installation and what it's going to look like. But again, it'll continue to evolve with our roster. So.
And what's been your early impression of Sam Jackson so far?
During the workouts, he's a very, very athletic guy, quick twitch. I think he's eager, as are we, to get out on the field and start playing.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll move to Jake Curtis from Cal Sports Report.
What would you say is your most important thing you want to accomplish in the spring?
Get better at football so we can win more games in the fall. I mean, that's what we got to do. We got to get better at playing football.
Can you be more specific on how the offense will look different? I mean, is it going to be a spread or not that degree different?
I think the formations will be different. There's only, with that being said, there's only so many ways you can line up 11 people and be legal, but there are going to be some differences in the formations, pace of play, style of run, style of passes. So it's a pretty significant shift. The players have done a really nice job in the meeting time that we've been allotted, taken to it, but we need to get out there and practice. You got to go out and play the game.
And you mentioned Sam a little bit, but what is his biggest asset, would you?
His athletic ability. He's a real sharp kid too. You can tell. Pretty quiet. He's brand new. He hasn't been here that long, so kind of learning his way around. But I think he's a very talented athlete. There's no doubt about that, and he's a sharp kid.
Okay, we'll go to Steve Kroner from the San Francisco Chronicle.
Justin, how are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, okay, thank you. Two questions. One, you can take me back 6 years when you got the job, and there was talk that you and Jake were possibly going to work together, and then he wound up going to West Virginia. How did that transpire?
6 years ago or recently?
Yeah, 6 years ago.
That's the first I had met Jake. I knew about him, obviously, from what he had done offensively, and I think it helped this time around to have that some background with each other. But really good guy, really good guy. I'd heard all those things along the way, and then people that have worked here, not only his football acumen, but just the type of guy he is to work with. And when that many people say it, it's true, and it's been that way. He's really easy to guy, and to be a part of the staff and get to know and chat with. A really sharp football mind and how he sees things, and so real humble, hardworking guy, you can tell. So it's exciting for us and the team.
And you mentioned, I don't know the word exactly, but roster management. Most times, up until maybe a couple of years ago, when you got to spring ball, your roster was pretty much what your roster would be in the fall, if heaven forbid for injuries and anything like that. Like, is your roster still in flux?
Well, with the way college football is now and the transfer portal, there's still probably some changes that we would see and some additions. I mean, that's just kind of how it works now. So I would expect us to add, some more players post-spring ball as we get into summer. What that number is, I couldn't quite tell you, just because there's a lot of decisions that people make. We feel good about the players on our team right now, and we do have a little bit of room. and that's a dynamic number. Things are moving constantly, but we feel good about the players on the team, and like I said, there's likely to be some additions in the summer.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, we'll go to Jim McGill from Bear Insider.
Yeah, Justin. So last year on defense, the perception was that you guys didn't really have a chance to play in a line the way you might normally have if you didn't have a lot of defensive linemen out, if you had some more experience in the defensive backfield, whether you could afford to play man or zone, things like that. Do you foresee, with the return of a lot of those defensive linemen and some of the key portal additions that you made, that you'll be able to run a defense that's more in line with what you maybe had hoped to last season?
Well, our job as coaches is to assess the roster and do what's best for the position, the unit, the team, so we can win, and give us the best chance. And as we evaluate the roster this spring, the new players, the guys returning off of injury, we'll determine that. I think there's some good players on defense. We have to get better in certain areas. There's no doubt about that. Like to be healthier in others. There's also some really talented teams that we'll be competing against this fall. So we know, playing in this conference against those offenses, that it is very challenging. But I guess much will be determined through spring football and as we get into summer and fall camp. And you'd like to be 100% healthy all the time, but that's just not the way it works.
Do you think it's fair to say that if the guys that you're getting back, the guys that are coming in, live up to expectations, that Cal fans might see a more aggressive brand of defense this season?
Yeah, I think we'll see. I mean, we got high hopes for those guys. We brought them, the newcomers, here for a reason, and we think that the guys that are coming off of injury have the chance to help us improve. But yeah, we got to get better on defense. There's no doubt about it. There were moments where we played good football last year, some others where we didn't play quite as well as we thought we could have. I think there's every position can be part of the solution.
And you had Junior Day this last weekend with a lot of guys on campus. What was the feel like compared to the last couple of years where you had juniors in?
It was a great Junior Day. Some really good players that were able to come visit us and spend time here. So thought it was a real success.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, we'll go back to Ryan Young with Rivals.
Could you share with us any guys who are definitely out for spring? What that list looks like?
Yeah, sure. The list right now, the guys that would be out for spring: Calhoun, Carlton, Christakos, Colin Gamble, Brett Johnson, Darius Long, Mason Mangum, Tyson McWilliams, Jaden Roberts, and Mason Starling. Those are the guys that will not participate in spring football. And everybody else will be involved to some degree.
And going back to Jake and just what you heard about him before versus now working with him, has anything stood out to you that maybe just really kind of personifies the way he goes about the job or the way he does things?
Yeah, just he's a really knowledgeable guy. He's a good teacher. People gravitate towards him, players and coaches alike. But philosophically, he's got a strong background and where he comes from. He's learned under some great coaches and then evolved on his own to build offenses with the players available to him. And I wouldn't say any two offenses that he's coached have looked alike because the players change. And I think he's done a really, really good job. And it's now being around him and the other coaches, you see why they've been so successful in their past.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, we'll go to Jake Curtis. Go ahead, Jake.
You alluded to a little bit about the roster maybe has some flux. Do you expect to add a quarterback?
Yeah, we'll see. I would say it's likely that we would add a quarterback. But again, we'll evaluate everything moving forward. But at that position, I think that's fair to say just based on the numbers.
All the transfers that came in, will they be participating in the spring?
Yeah. Yes, they will.
Okay, other questions? If you have other questions, please do let me know in the chat. We'll go back to Jim McGill.
Yeah, just for Calkin's wondering how the offense might look differently this season. How would you sort of summarize the new direction that you're going in?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it'll be sped up and spread out. That doesn't mean, I mean, we'll place a large emphasis on the run game, but some of the formations maybe would look a little different. Some of the run schemes would be a little bit different than they've seen. So, but I do think the use and or threat of tempo and some of the spacing will look a little new.
And what's the idea behind the different tempo and spacing? Is there any sort of general principle?
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons that people do it, and they're good reasons. Creating space for your players, creating angles and numbers in the run game. Whether you are or aren't using the quarterback as a run threat, that changes everything, as we know. And so I think, you know, having options and having answers built into the play on, you know, maybe you could call one certain play 8 or 10 times in a game, and it's going to look, you know, different 7 or 8 out of those 10 times, just because of the options within the play.
And with the running quarterback, obviously the defense has another player to account for besides just passing, and not just a guy who can run, but maybe even an elite runner. How does that change his ability? How does it open things up for him as a passer?
Well, it's math. I mean, if the defense is going to account for the quarterback in the run game, you start running out of people and the coverages you can play. So when the quarterback's not a running threat, you have more bodies available to support the coverage. So all it is math.
Great, thanks.
Okay, anybody else with the final question for Coach? Okay, I think we're good.
All right, thanks, guys. Go Bears.